Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of Stellar Cycles, a podcast dedicated to showing each woman her intrinsic power to guide her life, her cycle, her relationships, and her dreams. I cover feminine energy, reproductive health, and all things related to being a potent and magical being that is woman. I'm your host, Alina, and today our topic is your womb and what it needs from you. The goal for this episode is for us to take a deep dive into the uterus, or the womb, which is an organ that really only gets attention when it is actively bleeding or causing you trouble or growing a baby and giving human life through childbirth. But there's so much more to the womb. As a woman, you can consider it your second brain. Men joke about this for their genitals all the time. They make decisions with their thing and they actually always think through that, not their actual brain. But for women, this isn't touched on at all, not even hinted at. It's like our wombs don't exist, but this is such a big part of what makes a woman and what sets us apart from men, and it is our ability to give life through our womb. Not just by making a baby, but also by guiding you and helping you on your life path. There's so many ways that your womb speaks to you, but we've grown very accustomed to just stuffing it all down, repressing any sort of negative experience or trauma, and ignoring it until it gets our attention by protesting by way of disease. I'm very excited to share this episode with you all, as this information has helped me personally make strides in my feminine and reproductive health. First, I have a few updates for you guys. I'm currently in my menstrual phase and it's just not doing so great this time. Again, it's like a report card every single month. It lets you know, were you taking care of your body well enough? Did you maybe skimp out on some things? And I just haven't been sleeping well, haven't really been on much of an exercise routine. There are ways that I could be doing much better. And ever since getting my puppy, I kind of fell off of cycle tracking because everything has really been about her and getting both of us acclimated to each other and acclimated to life together. But now that she's getting a little bit bigger, I have every intention, every goal to get back into being very, very aware and present with my cycle and just getting myself back to that place where I don't really feel cramps and I can actually enjoy my menstrual phase instead of being brought down by it. The book club masquerade went really, really well. We held it here at my building where I live, and Rasheen, the owner, lives here too. So it was just a really, really awesome event that we put together. People came through dressed amazingly. They all had cool masks. The food that we got was just incredible. People were like scarfing it down for real. We ran out of plates. We ran out of forks. We had to go and grab more. And this had to have been our biggest book club meeting to date because not only were the members invited, but also we opened it up to the residents of our building as well. And to this day, people are still coming up to me and telling me how much fun they had at this event. So I'm very excited to continue working with Rasheen on putting together the book club monthly events. And even last night I was out at dinner and there's like at least 5 girls that are just so excited to join the book club. So wherever you may be, it could be a really good idea for a community event, a community project that you could work on that brings people together, gets them talking about topics that aren't just pop culture or what's going on in the news, but getting people together to read, pick a book that really interests everybody. I mean, it could be fiction, it could be self-help, self-development. That's kind of the direction that our book club books are headed in. And just the discussions are such a vibe because you get to see how everybody thinks, what they got from the book, how they're going to apply it to their lives, how they have applied it to their lives. So yeah, book club was a huge success this month and we're going to be starting to plan next month. So I'll keep you updated on that. Another thing for me, which is kind of a big update, is I have now been 2 years in San Diego and I'm finally carving out my own group of friends, my own little community. Whenever you move somewhere, let's say where your partner lives, you kind of get a lot of their friends by default, right? Like they just kind of come with a group of people. That group of people could be awesome, but it's still not necessarily the people that you chose to have in your life. And they're still your partner's friends, you know what I mean? So it feels really, really good to be able to now say, wow, like these are the friends that I have met on my own, and these are the connections I've been making, just me being me, and not just, automatically having connections because of my partner. So that has felt really, really good. We've been cooking up a lot of fun activities for fall and just doing some fun hangs. And just the people that I've been meeting have been so incredible, so interesting, so devoted to their life path and their journey and what they want to bring to the world. It's just so inspiring, so uplifting. And it really helps too that they're creative and funny and just a vibe to be with, honestly. I, for the life of me, also cannot catch up on sleep. It's been, going to bed at midnight or past midnight, waking up around 6 or 7 to feed and potty Nova. And my number one goal, because you guys know everything always starts from rest. Are you resting properly and are you eliminating properly? Then you can take all of your cycle tracking and cycle syncing from there. But the baseline, you have to have good rest, good elimination. So for me, this might be TMI, but I literally wake up needing to use the restroom, number 2. So I know on that scope of things, that's pretty good. That means my elimination is going through smoothly and I just need a few more extra hours of sleep. I really do. So this week, I am prioritizing going to bed at 10 when I'm not working evening labs, because those evening labs, they're about half an hour away from home. I get out of them at 10:30. I come home by 11, hopefully. And then, by the time I wind down and get the dog ready for bed, it's like midnight or past midnight. So the other nights where I don't work, I will be very hard on myself, very strict this week to get some good rest and really start building back up with my workout routine, lifting, eating, all of the stuff. Now that me and Nova are a little more used to each other and we're in a little bit more of a routine. She's being so cute right now. She's all curled up in her beanbag and is just listening to me record this podcast. Now let's get into the actual topic today. So why are we talking about the womb specifically? Well, because many women deal with diseases of the womb every day, thinking it's normal. And the worst part is we tend not to talk about it. But we really should, because our womb is literally our second brain. Through it flows our special feminine intuition, the intuition that men don't get to have, that feeling that we have, that we are just so certain and we know when something's going on, that you don't really need proof, you don't need evidence, you just have this deep inner sense of knowing. It's also literally a portal for new life to come into this planet. And we really tend to forget the importance of it. And when we get bogged down with not taking proper care of ourselves, talking negatively to our uterus, to our womb, we literally lose its power for being our compass and being our second brain, showing us that intuition that we have. It usually has to get really bad for us to start giving it our attention. We also need to remember that some women maintain a toxic womb just to have the excuse. I'm going to repeat that again. Some women maintain a toxic womb just to have the excuse. I can't blank because of my blank. I can't do this because of my ovarian cysts. I can't do this because of my fibroids. I can't. Well, I have this and this and that. It's a victim mentality because they find so much comfort in getting the sympathy and support that they'd rather have that than do the work and have a healthy body and womb. Another thing is when you're maintaining your toxic womb and using excuses, having victim mentality, you're not getting to the root cause of what is responsible for this problem, which is very often your decisions and lifestyle. And that requires some self-awareness, responsibility, and aligned action to fix that problem, which not everyone can do. But it's so important too. So let's talk about what constitutes an imbalanced womb. What does that actually look like? For example, bleeding longer than 4 days. And I know most of us fall into that category. I used to be within the 6 to 7 day range. Now I'm noticing my bleeding is lasting around 4 days. Now, when we're taught that something is normal, that doesn't mean it's actually normal. It just means it's common, and common does not equate to normal. So many women that I know bleed longer than 4 days. Another symptom of an imbalanced womb would be heavy bleeding or blood coming out as dark red, brown, or any color besides bright red. And dark blood is going to be old calcified blood. So it's literally leftover blood from your previous cycle that didn't all the way come out, wasn't shed completely. And that's literally staying in your uterus for another month and is calcifying and hardening. Another symptom of an imbalanced womb would be cramping. And that, of course, comes from the stress levels in your life, your diet. I have the worst cramps when there's more stress in my life and my diet is crap. It's just that simple. If your cycle is 27 or less days, that constitutes as uterine fatigue. The uterus is releasing blood much too often and is tired. Anything longer than 30 days is uterine stagnation. So 27 or shorter day cycle is uterine fatigue. 30 or more days is uterine stagnation. And of course, we understand too that as women, the cycle varies, but it really should be in tune with the moon. Now, what contributes to stagnation? We're going to get into mucus and the stickiness and pelvic cavity a little bit down the road. But tampons are actually the number one thing that stops the flow. So the blood needs to get out of your body. And if it's not all getting out of your body, then it stagnates. You get that old calcified blood that stays around for the next cycle. And here's the thing, I still use tampons, but I really try to give my body the space to have some free flow unblocked by any hygiene products. Just much easier said than done. But truly, just think about it. Would you really want to be 24/7 plugging up something that your body is naturally supposed to be releasing? What should a cycle actually look like? Like I said a little earlier, it should be in tune with the moon. So that means around the same length as a moon cycle, which is about 28 to 29 days. And another way you can know if you're aligned is bleeding on a new or a full moon. So when the moon is either completely darkened out or completely lit up. So when you're in alignment, you actually bleed with the moon. And I've been seeing this for myself. I used to not really pay attention to it, but now my period always comes around a new moon, which is kind of cool for me because a new moon signifies a new start. And that's just how I see my cycle. It's like a restart. Another thing too, when you're aligned with the moon, as far as your cycle goes, you have higher levels of intuition. And this is just what cycles are about. They're to show us that we go through these phases. It's not always the same, but we can always count on the same thing coming back around at a specific time frame. Women have always been directly connected to the moon. We know that because some archaeologists found some scratchings on the inside of a cave, and they were saying, oh, this was man's first attempt at keeping a calendar. And this woman archaeologist kind of chuckled, and she said, what kind of man would need a 28-day calendar? So I thought that was really cool because truly men do not keep track of time the same way that women do. And women, even back in those caveman days, they were tracking the moon and tracking their cycles. And it was 28 days even back then. Men, they're, like I say, they're always on the same hormone levels. So they get a spike of cortisol, they get a spike of testosterone every day, and then it slowly declines throughout the day. But they never feel anything different from that. And it's always the same for them until they get really old or die. But for us women, we truly do go on this roller coaster of hormones and emotions and phases, just 4 separate parts. You're going to have 4 different personalities in 1 month. Something that's really important to know too is periods let go. It's an art to let go. It's an art to release. And it's something that all of us are learning how to do more graciously and gracefully because the ego and our survival instinct is to hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Don't release. Keep it, But it is such an important reminder for us that it's unnecessary to hold on to everything. Another reminder is that hormonal birth control doesn't allow for that let go vibe. Like, it gives you a placebo bleed, which isn't really a period. It's just the withdrawal bleed from not having those pills in your body. When they invented the birth control pill, women were freaking out that they weren't having a period, right? Because they were constantly blocking their hormones. So then the doctors tweaked the pills a little bit to give them a few pills that didn't have those hormones, and that would cause the body to bleed. But it's not the same as a period that you're releasing the uterine lining, because when you're on birth control, your uterine lining is not being built up. That's part of how it works. If there's no uterine lining being built up, then a baby can't implant in there. Just one more reminder before we move on to the next section is that common does not equal normal. We go to the doctors with our reproductive problems as women, and they're like, that's normal. That's just part of being a woman. Just get through it. Just deal with it. But ladies, just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And we're just all on this journey together to figure out, hey, what is a normal period actually like? We've been so far removed from it and just so taught that we just have to suffer through being women that it's really taken a lot of work and a lot of research for women to be like, wait, we don't actually have to live like this. Moving on to men, girls. Men are carriers of bacteria. That's just what they do. They carry bacteria, they spread it. The way that they're able to do this is because many times these are asymptomatic situations for men. So they don't know, they don't have symptoms the same way that we do. Like anytime there's something off in our bodies as women let us know immediately. But men, they can harbor and carry all sorts of diseases and STDs, and it's so scary, but they literally don't show symptoms. So they're like, oh, I don't even need to go get checked because I feel fine. And men don't get checked nearly as often as they should for STDs. So there they go, spreading all these diseases around, infecting women, which women, we have these moist, I hate that word. We have these moist, wet, mucousy environments that are really just a great breeding ground for disease. So they pass it around to the women that they sleep with. It can be as simple as BV, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, which just throw off your entire microbiome and your balance in your pelvis. And the worst case scenario, so that's like the easiest things to deal with, but the worst case scenario is you could get an STD that you don't do anything about for years, and it can actually end up scarring up your fallopian tubes, which leads to infertility. That's why doctors go so gung-ho on checking yourself, using protection, because truly for women, some of these conditions can actually lead to irreversible infertility, which is really scary. We have to be so selective with what kind of men we let near our wombs. Our life centers, truly our second brain and our power portal. Think about it that way. Would you let just anybody next to a power portal that they can do something crazy with? No, you wouldn't. You would literally put them through so many stages of approval and testing. So think about it that way. I heard this phrase, and it's this: the disease is in the cheese. I know that sounds funny, but many of our womb diseases are directly linked to our diets. So, for example, there are cultures and ethnic groups that don't necessarily have the reproductive cancers and diseases that we have in the States simply because they have a completely different and much cleaner diet. Many animal foods and processed sugars create mucus in the body cavities. Mucus is sticky, icky. So increased mucus means increased bacteria, increased disease, because mucus is a breeding ground for bacteria. Bacteria loves mucus. It multiplies, it spreads, it festers. So most of the conditions causing infertility is mucus, or a sticky pelvic environment that prevents movement and flow, from sperm being able to move around to the fertilized egg then moving through the fallopian tubes easily and not getting stuck in there, to a sticky uterus that is not the perfect environment for an embryo to even implant into. So do you see how many different things a sticky and mucousy pelvis can block and prevent from happening? It's okay if you love dairy and meat like me. I definitely eat both of those things, but just make sure you're balancing it with other whole, nutritious, fibrous foods that can escort the mucus and the excess estrogen out of your system every month and keep it moving, keep it eliminated. Because again, stagnation is truly where disease comes from. But if you're keeping things moving, you're staying hydrated, you're moving your body, you're moving the food and hormones through your body by way of eliminating them, then you should be good. What can you do to help heal your womb? Now that we know that there's all of these conditions, all of these things working against us, and we're taught that this is normal and that we should just deal with it, but what can you do to actually heal and head into that direction? Well, first and foremost is changing your attitude towards your womb. Speak nicely to your uterus. Thank it for having come so far with you. I know that sounds insane, but it truly works. Be especially kind with your thoughts and your words about your body, your temple, especially when you're in your luteal PMS phase and also during your period, your menstrual phase. Change that negative attitude when you notice yourself directing it towards your womb. If you're thinking like, oh my goodness, this sucks so much. I wish I wasn't a woman. I wish I didn't have to go through this. Yes, you can think and feel that way because sometimes it sucks, but you're sending that message to your womb. You're sending that message to your uterus, and it doesn't feel loved. It doesn't feel cherished. And it's like, dang, I'm being taken for granted. I know this sounds crazy, but I've talked about this before in the podcast. Things really started turning around for me when I really attuned my thoughts and started directing them in a much more nicer way to my womb. Be excited to carve out monthly time and space to connect to your womb and to your body. I promise the results are mind-blowing. And whatever that looks like for you, you can set aside a day or two when you're on your period to just really sit with yourself and just to relax, not have any other responsibilities. Try to get them taken care of during that last week before your period so that when your period actually comes, you can sit in it and be like, wow, how do I feel about this? Can I be present? Like Jessa talked about on my last episode, how much can I slow down and just sit with this and be present and just listen to my body for once? Another thing you can do is be selective with the men that you let near your womb. Your womb creates life, and it intuitively tells you things that are very hard to explain, but gives you a very deep sense of knowing that, wow, I know this to be true. And when we allow just anybody near that, it messes up our energy. And women bond through sex much quicker and much easier and much stronger than men do. And then having their minds boggled by that sexual experience, if it wasn't right for them, can really take you out of your intuition, take you out of your power, take you out of your mind even, and have you focusing on all of the wrong things. So just be very, very conscious of that and only share your body with people who have earned it, who will go and take the STD test and will prove to you that they care about your health and care about your cleanliness. So just keep that in mind. Acknowledge and release any trauma your womb is storing. This is huge because disease also stems from the traumas that we have gone through, the things that our womb has gone through. So trigger warnings, things like sexual assault or abortions, It's okay. We've all been through things. We've all had to make decisions we didn't really want to make, or maybe had the power of choice taken away from us. But make peace with that and make sure your womb understands that it's still loved, it can still thrive, and that you release this stored trauma. And anytime that you have not honored your sacred portal, ask your womb for forgiveness and let go, knowing that it will always be with you and you're on this journey together. Now, another thing you can do to heal your womb is stop with the scented vaginal washes and things like that. That's going to throw off your pH balance and make things very uncomfortable down there for no reason. I'm telling you, all you need is your clean hands and some water. That's all you need. You don't need the scented stuff. And also, if you need to cover your natural smell with scent, then again, check and see if something is off, if the pH balance is off, because those scented washes are only going to make it worse. Another thing I love to talk about is Yoni steaming at home. I'm going to give you guys a brief history of women's pelvic steaming. So pelvic steaming is also known as Yoni steaming or vaginal steaming, and it's a practice that has been used for women for centuries across different cultures. And while its origins are not entirely clear, it has been documented in various forms throughout history. Now, in ancient times, women in different parts of the world would sit over hot water infused with herbs, and you'd have to have some sort of cutout to sit on. So it'll kind of be like a stool that props you up, but also has a cutout so that the steam can rise from the pot into the pelvic area. This practice was believed to have a range of benefits for women's reproductive health, including promoting menstrual health, supporting fertility, and also providing postpartum care. For example, in traditional Korean culture, the practice of chayok involved women steaming their pelvic area with a combination of medicinal herbs. It was believed to help with postpartum recovery and also maintain overall health and well-being. Similar practices can also be found in the Mayan culture, where it is known as bajos. So Mayan women would steam their pelvic area using a blend of herbs to support their reproductive health and address various concerns related to the menstrual cycle. Now, in recent years, Yoni steaming has kind of popped up and gained renewed popularity and attention in the holistic and alternative health communities especially, and advocates of this practice believe that the steam helps to cleanse and revitalize the uterus, balance the hormones, and support overall well-being. While pelvic steaming has a long history and is celebrated by many women for its perceived benefits, it's important to note that scientific evidence supporting its effectiveness is limited. And of course, we know with anything that is tried and true for centuries and is pretty much freely available, of course, there's not going to be a ton of scientific studies on it. Why? Because Big Pharma can't make money off of it. Just think about it this way. But as with anything health related, it's very advisable to consult with a healthcare professional before incorporating this pelvic steaming into your routine. Because yes, it can be helpful for a lot of people. You just want to make sure that you don't have any outstanding conditions or concerns that would prevent you from enjoying the benefits of this. And remember, guys, each person's body is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. It's essential to prioritize your own comfort, safety, and overall health when exploring any wellness practice. And I did get into this actually 2 years ago, and it was kind of funny because I didn't have a specific setup for this. So what I used to do is I would steam my herbs, I would boil them on a pot over the stove, and then I would actually do this in my toilet. So I would kind of cover the water and the bowl with plastic bag or something to, keep the water down, which I'm actually thinking I wouldn't have even really needed that. But so I put like a plastic bag, and then I would take a metal bowl, because they sell a lot of plastic vaginal steamers, but why would you want melted plastic rising up into your uterus? That's just dumb. So I used a metal bowl, and I would settle that into my toilet bowl, and then I would pour my steaming pot of herbs into that bowl, and then sit on the toilet and have a towel or a blanket wrapped around my legs so it would kind of trap the steam, not let it escape through my legs or anything. And oh my goodness, this literally changed my life. Now I have an actual steaming machine that I sit over when I do this, but back then, I don't know what it does to you. It literally, first of all, makes you feel so bomb. Number 2, it tightens you down there. Number 3, it helps with lubrication, and just overall was really, really helping ease up my cramps and my bleeding and all the problems that I had within my own period. If you're interested in trying this out, talk to a Yoni practitioner. Jessa, on my recent episode, helps women do this remotely if you can't find one in your area. And her Instagram is at Jessa Rose Wellness, and she's just incredible. You want to talk to a Yoni practitioner because herbs are freaking strong. They don't mess around. They're so powerful. So you want to make sure that you're getting the correct blend for your specific concerns or your specific situation. So Yoni steam ingredients or herbs generally involve some combination of the following: basil, which is a cleansing herb; rosemary, antibacterial and antimicrobial; oregano, which is an antiseptic, also cleansing; calendula, anti-inflammatory; motherwort, which is cleansing and pain relieving; mugwort, which is basically all-purpose. There's nothing that mugwort can't do; lavender is antimicrobial, and marigolds are anti-inflammatory, as well as thyme, which is antibacterial and antimicrobial. So you can see, based on all of these herbs, they just help with some infections, some pain, some inflammation, and just so much more. There's a bunch more that you can look up on Google that also strengthen the uterus, replenish the blood after you've had your period, help with hydration, and even digestion support. What does the steam do? Well, first of all, it loosens up all of that mucus and stagnation that I talked about earlier. Remember how I said that the mucus in a stagnant pelvis is what breeds disease? Well, in the same way that when you're getting a facial and they're steaming your face and it loosens up the pores and it lets things come out easier, same thing. when the steam rises up into your vagina and into your pelvic cavity, it really helps to not only relieve the pain and cleanse infection, the steam literally loosens up and breaks up that mucus and stagnation in your uterus. It has been known to relieve fibroids, which are uterine muscle tumors. A lot of the times if you go to the doctor, they say surgery is your only way, but I've known people to greatly reduce their uterine fibroids through pelvic steaming. It's also been known to decrease ovarian cysts. Don't yoni steam when you're actively on your period because your uterus is open and it's releasing blood. And definitely don't use it throughout pregnancy, as again, the steam can open up your cervix and cause a miscarriage because the cervix needs to stay nice and tight until you're ready to give birth. Do use a pelvic steam at the end of pregnancy when preparing for delivery. So that can really help speed things along and just tell your body, hey, we're ready to do this. As well as a postpartum healing for the tissues down there. It really helps for you to quote unquote snap back. And that just means it really rejuvenates your vaginal canal and just everything like traumatic that has gone through too with childbirth. Another way to start healing your womb is get on some probiotics and organic supplies. You know, we use a lot of hygienic supplies that have been sprayed down with all sorts of chemicals, and our bodies are constantly leaching them in every single cycle. So probiotics will really help with your immune system, your gut, and also your vaginal microbiome. And those organic supplies, yeah, you can still keep using tampons, but make sure that they're not the ones that are sprayed down with chemicals or can cause toxic shock syndrome. Another thing I've been doing is take apple cider vinegar bath every week. Now, that doesn't mean you have to dump a whole bottle of apple cider vinegar into your bathtub and smell like feet for the rest of the day. That's not what I'm saying to do. But if you run a bath and if you put about a half cup of apple cider vinegar into the water and it kind of dilutes to the point where you literally can't smell it, it's crazy how it rebalances any wonkiness you have down there. If your pH is off or you're smelling a little weird or, you know, maybe you're a little uncomfortable and itchy down there, apple cider vinegar freaking fixes anything and it will give you the most fresh situation, trust me. And girls, stop with the plastic. Just don't have plastic anywhere near your vagina. For real, it is so absorbent. It's literally our highest, most absorbent part of our body. So if we're constantly putting in plastic, that is just becoming part of our body. So for example, some sugar cane tampons are what I get when I am buying tampons. So they don't have a plastic applicator, but instead the applicator is made out of sugar cane, kind of how those sugar cane straws that they have. You know what I mean? They're not like super biodegradable. Well, they are biodegradable, but they're not going to like biodegrade in your drink. You know what I mean? So it has a plastic consistency. So it's nice and rigid and strong. It's not just going to dissolve in your body, but at the same time, it's not made out of plastic, which is awesome. Another thing too, like I said earlier, please don't use plastic for vaginal steaming. Dear God, you're using high temperatures, so you don't want the hot water leaching the plastics and rising up into your body. That would just undo all of the hard work that you're doing. Another thing too, so if you are dealing with BV and yeast infections and things like that on a regular basis, first, just take a look at who you're sleeping with because we don't just get those on our own. It's usually from bacteria that's passed between women through one guy. So number one, just check who's throwing you off balance. And boric acid does help with those infections, but try to use it as little as possible. It can really be hard on the body, so don't use it as an every time thing. Again, apple cider vinegar can be really helpful, but boric acid, it's pretty intense and it does clear the infection out, but try to use it sparingly. And finally, guys, join me on this because you know I'll be doing this myself, but prioritize sleep this fall and going into winter season. I'm talking at myself more than anybody else here, but when we're headed into the winter season, everything is so set up for us to thrive and to follow natural patterns. So longer nights means more rest. Spend more time sleeping, spend more time resting, have a nighttime routine that you fall in love with. For me, I have a pretty good morning routine that I stick to now, but my night routine is a mess because sometimes I'll come home and all I want to do is just veg out on the couch with my husband and my dog. And then, you know, we're watching this Star Wars or something else like really intense and stimulating on the screen, and then I'm just supposed to like shut off and go to bed. No, what I'll be working on is having my red light therapy or even orange light, just have like kind of caveman fire vibes, listen to some nice relaxing music, maybe even plug in a nighttime meditation, because I do my morning meditations, but do a nighttime meditation to prepare my brain to sleep, do my yoga, and I've incorporated a little routine for Nova in the evenings, and I put some coconut oil on her nose and on her paws to keep them soft, and I'll brush her teeth and make sure that she feels ready for bed, feed her, take her potty. So one more thing is start recording your dreams. You are downloading when you're dreaming. And yes, a lot of it is just subconscious garbage that our body just needs to get out. But at the same time, dreams are prophetic AF. And I've had some crazy dreams that I've seen come to pass. So start recording them. Cleaner womb just means higher intuition. So when you really start taking care of and clearing out the things in your womb that you don't want there, you're making room for higher intuitive powers to come in and work with you and just make your life easier. Compiling this information has taken me about 3 years of observing and researching this topic, and I got a lot of it from at Woman's Intuition on Instagram. It's at WOMBMANSENTUITION. I will link her in the show notes so you guys can find her, but she is a certified pelvic steam facilitator, and her page is just full of information on pelvic steaming and womb health if you'd like to take a deeper dive. And of course, Jessa Rose Wellness, she will literally help you do the Yoni steaming remotely and help guide you through it and get you exactly what you need. So that's it for the episode, guys. Go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram at Stellar Cycles Pod. I post a lot of graphics, I post a lot of food ideas and things like that for you guys to start applying into your own lives and make your cycle syncing a little easier. Be sure to download the free grocery guide I have for you based on the phase you're at in your cycle. So whenever you go grocery shopping, you can take a look at your calendar and be like, oh, I'm heading into my fertile week. Okay, I'm going to buy more avocados, more fish, things that have really healthy fats. It's a really fun way to grocery shop because you can switch up what you eat every week and really make sure you're getting the right nutrients for the phase that you're in. Please give me a 5-star rating if you enjoy this podcast, and if you're feeling extra generous, I love to read the reviews that you girls leave for me. Until then, spread the good word about Stellar Cycles to your fellow women, and let's all elevate our lives, cycles, and dreams together. Till next time, Stellar Cycles out.